aggressive force throughout the lobby. But the interesting thing is that damage taken, right? So they were pushing out numbers and they were also getting dealt damage the same.
I mean, that's exactly how Ritual Cold and Peterbot play. Whether that's the early game, if they're contested, they're immediately going to eliminate the other trio. If this is in the mid game where they're just chasing down players, and obviously when you chase down players, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You're going to have players take tags on you as well. And then, of course, the end game where they're either dominating the low ground or dominating the high ground. It really is not a surprise to see these numbers out of this trio.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing as well that I kind of wanted to hit him on. Obviously, we were just kind of talking about the off-spawn side of going on. It's like, that's the only thing both of these trios are kind of getting talked about right now. It's like, oh my gosh, the off-spawn that's going to happen, that's crazy. I feel like we've all kind of forgotten to at least mention in some regard that, hey, listen, those two trios, especially, this Peterbot trio that we're going to be watching today, they are super good at controlling the lobby. They will be finding all of the eliminations, and it will be no surprise if they find a controlling game where they can go ahead and win it.
Man, I'm hoping. But also part of me wonders, are they just going to play it out, right? Try and start game one, get a VR, start prep for next weekend, or kind of pull little clicks like we saw yesterday, like, oh, jump fell off, height, LOL, I guess we're going to keep playing. I don't know. We'll find out very soon. Let's talk about another trio. I'm seeing my notes here. R-E-E-T. Reed, it's Kelly's favorite. Reed come in, of course. What hasn't Kelly said about Reed? I mean, this guy is an absolute legend, of course, paired up with Cooper, a global champion, and Curly. These guys are landing over at Flooded Frogs. I mean, guys, come on. This is a shoo-in, right? We should expect the victory out from this trio.
Who? Yeah, no, Reed, Cooper, and Curly, an absolutely incredible trio. Love to see how they formed together after Major number 1. We saw Cooper with the deal at Sphinx, and Cooper kind of played more of a support fragging role. Reed was playing with Bryce and Vert, and they didn't even make it actually into the grand finals. One of the first times we haven't seen Reed in a grand finals in quite some time. And Curly playing with Noxie and Virgo, who got an 8th place, a pretty good performance in Major 1. But the three of them split from their trios, joined together in Major 2, and got that 3rd place spot. Obviously, that is a great spot to be in because that is where the Global Championships ticket is. And to see how they play together, to see how smart and developed Cooper has become, going from that support fragger into this incredible IGL role, has just, I love it. I really don't know what else to say. I love this trio. I love watching them, and I love to see how they just evolve together.
I mean, development's at every single corner of this trio, right? You're talking about how Cooper's kind of developing roles in his trio. We kind of earlier this year, debating between the peripherals and everything like that. And then Curly, you got to go ahead and put an exclamation point on his name as well, because it's only 4 FNCS finals that we've seen him in. For the first time, it was actually Chapter 5. So to kind of improve that quickly, right? Find yourself in 3rd place just over the course of a year to 2 years of competing is incredible stuff. And yeah, like Kelly mentioned, already a team ticketed to the Global Championship, which is awesome to have, right? Because we're talking about some of these other teams kind of qualifying the grand finals, and they got to try to qualify again for globals. Now this team sitting comfy.
I like it. Let's continue this talk about data and take a look at them. So let's think about this, like the dichotomy of these two trios, right?
What's up, Valdez?
We saw 2nd in damage dealt and taken. Here we see 5th in damage dealt and 8th in taken. So I like that these guys have a more reserved strategy, right? They're making sure they get these surge tags. It's very important to not only them but everyone else in the lobby. So it's very interesting to just kind of see like the differences in these two trios, right?
Yeah, the damage definitely being from Reed and Curly's fragging ability, but I really think that what we're seeing as far as Victory Royales especially comes down to Cooper's ability, his understanding of the game. He knows exactly what they need for win conditions when it comes to that in-game play, and he's able to kind of provide them the exact forces that they need so that they come out with those Victory Royales time and time again, and that is a little bit important during the group stages today.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're kind of flying by that side right there. I mean, 7 wins throughout. I mean, that is crazy in its own right? Hopefully they can go ahead and carry that into the day, pick up a win, and it'll be an easy day for them.
Okay, so now that we've got these, 2 power trios, do we just think they're going to try and get a victory out right out the gate? Does it make sense to just wait and try and play out some of these games? What do you guys think?
Levin said something at the start of EU show saying he's putting the pressure on Cammy because he saw what shows that he put on Group 2. And we saw how that worked out. I was going to say the same thing for Peterbot's trio, but never mind. Play however you want. You don't need to prove anything. If you just want to win in game number 1 and let that be it, yeah, do that.
Listen, I like the statement that's made by going ahead and winning game number 1, right? But I also like the statement that kind of Acorn Trio put out by saying, like, hey, listen, we could have won every single one of these games. We just didn't want to. And then when the final one came around, we can do it on demand. I like that for sure.
All right, okay. All right, you got me. Why don't we go hang out with our casters, Monster D-Face, Jacob PR. Let's see how they're feeling about group number 3.
Yeah, thanks, Zeke. And you know what? I like it. It's easier said than done. Or when it's in the past, your games are over. Of course, Acorn can flex like that. Talking about it though today, Jacob, I think Demon's Domain is going to have some contestation for Peterbot. So, what do you think about that?
I think it's just good practice for him overall, whether he lands there or switches up his drop spot for grand finals. It's just about reps for Peterbot and his entire trio, just getting into that tournament style mode, the right mindset going into the entire tournament, not just this group stage today, but the overall grand finals if he inevitably qualifies.
Yeah, and there's other fights happening around the map.
What's up?
Be keeping eyes on Cooper Curly, who's right in between.
What's up,
Some of that
TM?
action up at Flooded Frogs, where Osis and their own Cam are going to be taking some battles. So I'm really interested in how Group 3 dynamic is going to play out. There's a couple hot spots that are going to, of course, keep our eyes on the prize here. And then you got the big name teams from this group that might just have an easy pass, but we've all seen how difficult that can be. Nothing is free, that's for certain, Zeke.
No.
I feel like there's only one mindset I have. That's Jacob PR. Anyway, let's talk about win conditions. Kelly, you used that term earlier, and I like that. I'm stealing it now. Win conditions. What do we need to do to make sure we earn a spot in the next week's grand finals? Let's begin easy with the thresholds, right? Where were those point thresholds to make sure we made it through inconsistency? Well, we've got some numbers for you guys. We've got Europe and NA. So in groups 1, we can see the 189 of Europe versus North America, right? 165. What's interesting is it starts to kind of like get lower in that group 2, but then group 3 EU earlier was insane, so that threshold went way up. So how do you guys feel about these point thresholds? Do we think that number could be lower than 163? I mean, we got Peter Bob rolling around the lobby, taking up a lot of these points. Could it be lower?
It definitely is going to depend on how certain teams play out the group stages. We saw exactly what happened in Group 1, but I don't think it's going to be lower. Honestly, I think it's going to be around the same point. When you look at Group 3 and Group 1 comparatively, as far as FNCS experience goes, they're relatively similar. So I don't think we're going to see anything as drastic of a change like what we saw from EU.
Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely crazy. 202 points. And I think around 160 points today is probably where we're going to be looking for. Maybe even a little bit lower because, group number 3 only.
I'm watching FNCS Major 3.
Appearances. If anybody
NA
remembers from
East.
yesterday, there was a total of 398 there, right? So definitely the least experienced group of the 3.
Okay, let's talk about some of the mid-match objectives, right? Rift Island and the Spires. I mean, if I'm looking at the Rift Island, I've got to just assume Peterbot's going to be up there as well. But if they could, go ahead, get an early VR and kind of find themselves next stepping to grand finals, Rift Island could be a path to victory, right?
I mean, there's so much value to this. Beyond the medallion and the weapon, you also just get a bunch of materials, an opportunity to kind of see where the rest of the lobby is in the map, opportunities for you to rotate and just take these tags as well. And I was actually looking at the winners that we had from groups 2 and 1, and game 1 and game 2 from group 2 were won by teams that claimed Rift Island. That's Vigils and Kanata respectively. And then 2 of the teams that claimed Rift Island but didn't win got 3rd place. And then I was excited to see if the stats were the same for group 1, but 4 out of the 5 games was Acorn's trio that claimed Rift Island, so it kind of threw my stats for a loop. But regardless, obviously these mid-game objectives, very valuable for our top trios.
Yeah, they are very valuable indeed, and lucky for us, there are not only one mid-game objective. There's also the kind of the spires that you can go for. I love both about both of the objectives that you can kind of go for.
Nerd.
And outs, right? Like you kind of know where they are spawning. And of course, Click, Higgs, and Yams are taking full advantage of one of the spawns they were able to get their hands on. Obviously, we know the spires, they drop so much loot, but something that kind of goes, flies under the radar sometimes is, using the spire to actually upgrade your hero rank as well. So it's just this huge momentum shift for your trio if you're actually able to go ahead and secure one of these while you're taking it down. It just leads to so much loot. If you can go ahead and use that momentum into the end game, you are almost very, very likely to have a very good game.
But there's also not just that, right? Because it's also these POIs or the drop spots for a lot of these trios, right? What we saw out of the previous games is players that went out to get a victory out the 5th zone that pulled was actually like right next to their POI, right? So for some of these trios, they don't have to like worry about, oh, we got to make sure we rotate across the map or whatever. If it's close by, as you can see here, kind of on this list, some of these are so close that you just got to worry about like, okay, hey, we're going to base up and everyone's got to come to us. And we really hope that you know what you're doing, trying to get a secure spot in center zone. If you don't, free search for us.
Yeah.
This is going to be it right now, where start of game number 1, Monster, to where there's 2 different win conditions. They broke it all down. Win a game, you get into the major grand finals. Easier said than done, but the consistency through the top 5. And looking at both of the groups, it really takes only 3 really good games to get yourself within qualification range.
Yeah, and you mentioned one of the teams that we're looking at here, Duke's Edgy and Chance, right? This is kind of in the pre-show. We were warming up about this offline. I'm really interested to see how they're going to play out of the Brutal Boxcars. This is almost a surprise factor team. People sleep on what Duke's is capable of to see him kind of pop in, you know? We got a little wild card, little underdog showing up here for Group 3 too.
Yeah, and I like that team as well, because we're not just talking about Dukes coming back, maybe a resurgence, a new love for the game, but he's paired up with his FNCS championship-winning duo, Edgy, and a new teammate that he's playing with most of the season, most of the chapter, for that matter, into Chance. So I do think they have what it takes, some of the most experience in this lobby. Let's stop talk about if they have what it takes. Let's see what they got. Game 1 is ready. Let's jump right in.
Group 3, Game 1. Let's kick this off one more time for the weekend before we get into the finals up ahead. So, got to see all of these other weekends of competition play out. Now, let's just ride this battle bus on home. So, what do we want to keep focus on? Obviously, we've got the Demons Domain clash going down. It does seem like we do have those 2 teams landing there. Peterbot for Torn Cold should be that standout trio. One thing I've noticed about this trio too, and I want to watch this kind of play out today, is how well Ritual has been playing these last couple of seasons, right? I think he's really been the surprise factor for this trio.
Yeah, I think, rightfully so. The community put a lot of misdirected blame onto Ritual for that Major 1. He pops off, comes back, they win Major 2, and he's still performing at that high level. And then on top of that, he's taken streaming to a whole nother level. So he's trying to be that full package for the team. Uncontested fight over there. We were all faked out thinking they were going to have a battle at Demon's Domain, but rightfully so. Teams don't want to go ahead and test their luck that early in game number 1. Shiny Shafts, on the other hand, is going to be contested. There's different layers. Already, one team having a high ground advantage.
All right, little early game action here at the Shiny Shafts. Apple Snake, Mathix looking to kind of kick this one off. Play right now, just going to kind of rat his way down, but things are going to simmer down right now as they just have the outside angles.
And this is kind of what happens here. This is where I start to begin a little worried for both of these trios, not just one. Because we saw it through not only Group 2 yesterday, but through Group 1. The longer fights like this go, the easier it is, the more risky that Chance gets of that third party coming in. Apple putting down some good damage, but taking some himself. Still looting around. Hopefully he's able to get some shields out of that chest. But you can see the team that he was focusing on is just trying to hide as much of their visuals, as much of the audio, so that way he could look around, maybe get the jump onto one of these 2. Mathix on the other end. Oni's here as well, just trying to get as much space as possible. You see the very little resources that they have, so they're trying to make it all count. One of them's going to get knocked. Mathix gets cleaned up. Zank and Apple are forced to kind of back up to reassess the situation.
And it kind of works out, right? Here's the thing. North to the east, to the south, there's so many other teams that are likely contested at this very moment. So they do fortunately have enough time to kind of take this one the distance. And as we talk about those teams just to the north possibly fighting, here we have it. Little action happening right here between Kezi, Exotic Tobes, and Haiti Delay and KSM on the other side. So another standoff type of situation here. One team's got the high ground, another one's got the low. Just off in the distance, you see sit there. That's another team that's contested. So this entire kind of west/northwestern area, Jacob, is just fully congested here.
Yeah, I was going to say, the higher you build in these kind of drawn-out fights, that resistance base where you're talking about Soneto Camp and Osit can't easily put DMR shots over in that direction. So I like the decision for both of them to get off of that high ground, especially since there isn't a ton of loot over here, even when contested. So you have to figure out how you're going to play the rest of the game out if the fight does not go your way. So starting to farm up, get whatever scraps are left by, and thinking about, hey, Root is going to be a focal point of their strategy. But contested fights all along. Another one over here towards Utopia, and this is the first one through the group stages that we're seeing at Utopia City being contested.
Yeah, Utopia, obviously a wonderful draw spot, but look at this kind of sneaky play. They don't even realize how much space there is between them and the trio, so this is a very much precautionary kind of rotate right now as they're trying to move through, get a little bit of high ground here, and likely scout for information first. They spent a lot of their early game farming up mats, though, too, so they are pretty well poised for a fight. We'll keep tabs on them. First, let's jump into Curly's
See you, yeah.
perspective here, see how things are looking over at the Flooded Frogs. So,
What's up,
of course,
Rixie?
Cooper and Reed, like we talked about, they've had their drop kind of to themselves for quite some time. They can be back to the last major.
My toe.
Obviously, they played this general area very well.
Yeah, this is kind of just a lot of loot, especially uncontested at Flooded Frogs. Cooper's kind of doing what he does best. He kind of builds up over in the western direction as high as possible, and he usually shoots over in that side of the map towards the resistance base. You know there's contested fights there right out of the gate, so for him, that's easy and early surge, and the more you have in the early game, the more flexibility you're going to have to rotate around the map, especially if we get some of those drastic south pulls that we did see yesterday. Others not faring as well. You're seeing a couple of missed players on the team. Duos running around. Trios still hunting for some of those fallen players. And they
Wait,
have
so
a huge
this on?
advantage because they
It's
see
not.
trying to dash away, but there's a little bit of a distraction.
I'm watching it off YouTube, on Fortnite Competitive.
Draw 'em out by that team.
Fortnite Competitive, FNCS Major 3, NAC,
Certainly being used.
NA Central,
Already down a couple
Group
charges,
3.
but the dashes are going to be the same.
Fortnite Competitive.
Take a look here, though.
That shit.
Sloppy fight for here. Ozone and Noxie kind of sprint up between a couple different areas. Ozone, the weakest, kind of in the bulk fight here. Like you said, putting up a good fight, but got Phenom to kind of back them up right now. They're going all metal base. Okay, so they're willing to kind of base down for a second here, and like that's a telltale sign to the other shooter. Go ahead and back off for a second here. Not sure we want to commit that much.
Yeah, this kind of works out well because of what's going on at Utopia. Typically, it's those teams that kind of form that triangle and kind of shoot off surge in this direction, so there's a little bit more freedom for them to try to make a play, whether they want to get aggressive or simply just try to disengage. Jojo, Aoxy, and Pikes. I can see this team getting through consistency, especially if the zone favors their southern pulls. They do have the launch pad, a little bit of extra rotation. Timing has to be perfect, though, when you do use that. You just don't want to be floating through the sky for too long.
No, Clicks played,
Especially when the
second group.
domain is just right to the east. As Aoxy is just trying to spread
Clicks
out
played
as
second
much
group,
loot as
and then I don't
possible.
think
There's
he
a lot
actually
of
won.
Extra scrap all
Peter
around.
Bot's
See
in it,
the
though.
rare chest towards the back. He's checking over
Poyo,
Phoenix Rock.
Agers, their team
He's
played
ready to
Group
go
1.
eventually.
Clicks played Group 2, which was yesterday.
Surprised this team up top.
Group 3 is today with Peterbot,
Plate for tax
Cooper.
here. And high ground advantage.
those people.
This little island already claimed, so the medallion's going to go into the hands of Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold's trio here. This is already setting themselves up with a huge advantage in this early game. A rank already established, a couple tags away from being S rank this early into the round as well. It's going to lock them a lot of loot here, Jacob.
It is. It's kind of very dang. You're already seeing 2 mythics on the Peterbot. You know they have the 2 medallions, essentially kind of collecting them all. And this is where the rest of the lobby, you want them to win this game out. Because not only frees up points around the map, but it frees up loot. Demon's Domain would then be open. The Rift Island, more and more chances of other teams to try to get up there. So like, really interesting to see how it plays out as Plasmafy Arsenic. They're going to get another elimination, just try to close out that side of the map. Death Sailed and Encrypted. I wouldn't say uncontested by any means, but over towards Crime City, and they made a quick rotation towards the north. They saw something in some of these early zones, Monster, that says, hey, maybe we should go towards the north, kind of put our eggs in that basket, and if we have to worry about rotating south, we're still rotating through familiar territory.
Yeah, I don't hate that call. That's definitely going to end up working out for them here. Let's jump on over to that same fight that we kind of briefly took a look at before. This is the resistance base now. Things kind of dragging on from deep into the zone, closer to the outer edge. Another reset happening for most of the kind of teams here. High ground squad's definitely the one with the advantage here as they've got the extra heals to work with, but Delay has to make a fast move here. He goes up, gets coned in, and this is starting to dissolve quickly for him now. Sebi kind of gets the knock there. Delay's going to go ahead and get full finish here now. Not bad at all, but look at this. They're attracting Sineto, Sid, and Cam. This is a team that just finished a fight with them as well, kind of earlier into the game, coming down from resistance base. So they're going to be here to clean things up.
Yeah, perfectly timed too. And I didn't see too many heals on either one of these trios outside of maybe one med kit, some bandages. Not enough for the whole team, I could tell you that much. So for OSIT, Cam, Sineto, as long as they have like a med miss smoke, chug, they should be okay to lurk around the situation. Even with the zone not too far off, it's still going to be very, very risky for them to try to disengage on out. And already you have a knock to the zone. And that just goes to show how weak they are, how low on resources that they have. That's a huge sign of
I'm at
weakness.
11 likes. Shut up. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you saw right there, Sineto actually grabbed the make it.
Holy shit, I'm actually at 11 likes. Bro, this is my highest like stream then. Holy crap.
Reward for his trio, so it's going to heal up Sebi now.
This is my highest like stream.
Sid Sineto kind of looking for that side angle. Sineto's got that high ground right over Sebi. No tags to be made though. Sebi kind of bases down defensively there. And they do have a med miss to work with, so much more options here as they've got a few of them there.
And depending on how that fight went, how much XP
12
they have,
now,
you can see
let's
that
go.
team kind of disengaging. Not necessarily OSIT, Sineto, and Cam, but the other one that kind of just finished with that fight. They're rotating down to one of those superhero crates. Hopefully they have the rank enough to unlock it. And that'll kind of probably get them the heals that they need as Nate. Mathix is back on up along with Apple over back to Shining Shaft. You can kind of see their resources, the 3 eliminations it took, and cost them so much material just to end that fight when they did. So they're going to have to take some time to refarm back up. And there's their first opening elimination onto Tobbs. He gets back to back. Well, might as well make it 3.
Job right there, cleaning things up, adding up those points here, so they're off to a good start. And get this flash, some heavy hitters here in the lobby. Edgy, Chance, we set up on the outskirts. Peterbot going toe-to-toe with Chance on the wall there. Chance forced to back up for a second now. Trying to put some respect on it. Great tag onto Duke there behind the wall, and Peterbot already kind of demanding respect here as he's walking his way through the space.
Kind of like foreshadowing a possible grand finals fight if both teams could make it that far. Brutal boxcars, something Peterbot says he might be after, as they do have the upper hand in this fight by a long shot as well. Multiple angles, stealing away multiple builds, closing out on so many options that they have. Even Cold on one side, taking the charge by himself. Peterbot doing the same thing. He does have that exotic Yoink Outlaw shotgun, so he's going to pull players to him if he's able to hit that first. And if it's close enough, that second one for surely will get the knock.
Exotic shotgun does so much damage as well. You saw him just ripping shields off of anyone that gets touched by it. How much respect he's putting on this team here. You know, typically you'll see like Peterbot kind of key his way all the way through, but no, taking his time here, just kind of easing his way into game 1, just really showing that he's not here to mess around today.
I think it just might be the loadout difference. If they had a Sentinel, maybe they would be a little bit more aggressive, but only having 2 shots with the Outlaw, you have to be just a little bit more precise, which means you can't necessarily take the same risk. But I can only imagine how Edgy's feeling. Twin fire on one side, Chance trying to take advantage, a little bit of drop on the Ritual. He's able to escape out. You're seeing the resource count, the material is getting very, very low from both of these teams in this fight, and the zone kind of pushing them on the edge. So all those teams on the north side will eventually end up in this position if this fight takes too long.
Edgy does have a misform to work with here too, so it's not like he can't completely disengage, but I think they're recognizing what's kind of happening here. Like, this is Peterbot's trio here. Still have dashes as well too, so they're pretty content with taking this fight to the very end. Peterbot pulled the Ritual. They'll have to time to decide here as well. They're also running low on material, but so much more heals to work with.
Just look at the big difference. You see right now Chance, top left, superhero rank B. And now if we see it on the other side, Peterbot, Gold, Ritual, they're already S ranked. They're getting all the resources around the map. They don't even have a singular elimination. That just goes to show how good not only their drop spot is, but how good taking these island objectives that Kelly was talking about to start the show. It's just more than just the loot. It's more than just the loadout. Because once they get to S+, that's their final form, but Ritual is going to be the first one knocked. That's an opening there. Cold there trying to alleviate the pressure. He gets not just one, but two different knocks right back. Chance goes down. Peterbot making sure to alleviate the pressure, and they strike to win that fight. Ritual being down is only a small hiccup in their game plan.
Yeah, you saw how quickly Peterbot kind of collapsed inside, but Cold holding his own behind the cone there. Well played. And that's their first full set of elimination there. There's a team listening, walking in here now.
Peterbot's being already cocky, emoting, even though he already has his qualified spot for the finals.
Dancing in the box, but they do have to be careful. Take a look from Peterbot's perspective. Comes down through the cone, right behind Chance there. You didn't even see him coming. Cleans things up pretty quickly. There's another fight seems to be coming to an end. 2v1 situation right now for Plasma 5. Tough spot to be in here and now.
It's that much tougher. Third-party shot. Another team gets coned out, blocked off, and trying to escape. Still able to extend his life just a little bit longer. Trade shots with one. I think that was the last shotgun shot. Unless they traded any bit of ammo on the other side, that might have been it. But neither here nor there, because 49 still able to get that elimination. Even with the third-party annoyance coming in, they're going to close that one out and kind of gives them a chance to get Kyrie back on up. You see the zone pulling away. Yeah, maybe a little bit more drastic with another pull towards the north, but at least they're going to get a chance for the true trio to get back into the game. Wow.
Everything unfolds before you realize it. Take a look at a little update here with Kaji, Kovics, and Bray. After being contested, they've kind of moved out. Seems like they've got their bearings back under them here. Other team on the outskirts, marker on the map here. They're really spotting this squad out here. It's Ozone and Veer. Seem to be moving, trailing kind of closely behind them. Great tags on Takashi there from Noxy. Keep this one off.
Not a bad idea. Angel, Aimred, Gary. They essentially land at Foxy Floodgates, and they didn't necessarily take the challenge in order to contest Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold on that island, but they're just taking the position. It is going to be in zone. Now they got to start worrying about it way down, but you can see they're only 100 above the damage threshold. That's not in their worry for now. Their main focus point is just trying to get as many shots for Surge as possible, so that way when they do make that inevitable trip towards the Lord ground, it's a little bit easier then to find a little bit more comfortability instead of having to go straight after more Storm Surge.
Yeah, it's always the looming pressure in these types of lobbies is where you're going to get that damage once you start to slip behind. Fishineko, Zavi looking for something here, but give that a second for a moment. Aaron's team's below the surge. We just talked about where do you find the damage. This is how you do it. Sometimes you just got to kind of force the action here. Dash is coming out. They try to put the chase on to Cynics and Fred here. Fred's kind of in the front. Gonna get any tags onto Sir. A couple. Look at how they're just 9 above right here, Jacob. So this is gonna go all the way through to the very end.
Yeah, 9 above, yes, you're not going to get active Storm Surge taking damage on you, but you know that's not a feeling of comfortability. You know that could flip in a heartbeat, and that's why they're following him. There it happens, 6-22, below the damage threshold. Great shots being fired off. He's going to be forced back. Cirque, Cynics, and Polar are doing a good job playing this one defensively, and another third party coming in. Zone closing in their favor. As long as they don't make any bad peaks, in order for Polar to get taken down, they should have more than enough time with more and more teams rotating in this position. But Fredbot being down below the damage threshold, he might not have the luxury to wait this one out.
Just kind of ticking away there. Cynic, Cirque, and Polar trying to wait this one out for a second. Curly, Ree, and Cooper want nothing to do with this action here. Aaron now below the surge, goes for a trade of tags there. The surge is active. He might have bought himself a little bit of time with that big shot onto Surge for a moment there. So this is going to continue to go the distance now. And as this all happens, looks like Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot have kind of joined the action here, looking to rack up eliminations, if nothing else, at the moment.
Just walking down the street. Hey, what is this? Is this something I want for a moment? It did look like they were willing to take that chance. They disengage on out. Yeah, I think it's just that low on Surge. And he got straight eliminated going for it. Sometimes, Monster, you know as well as I do, if you're not proactive enough to get that Storm Surge, you're no longer in control of your own destiny, of your own game plan. You literally have to push one of the first teams you see, even more so if you don't have any heals to attempt to out-heal it.
Yeah, Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot kind of ease their way off of that messy fight. Just see out of nowhere things rolling all around, and that's just showcasing how desperate some are just for that little bit of the extra damage. Sebi and his trio here, I would assume don't need the damage. Yeah, they don't, but that storm start just cooking Sebi. Or sorry, the storm damage in general. Luckily, he does make it to the edge of the zone, and it pulls this way, so that all happens here. Looks like the team might have noticed what happened there, kind of reading the room a bit right now. They've got to put up a fight back, though, or change layers or something here. And just their mats get eaten up like that. Luckily, the pressure kind of eases up for a second there.
Second sooner on that pressure would have been disastrous. So that Osid Cam going to its N-Pen. Zen. And one more, you can see Zen trying to stay alive. He was able to get the knock, but Nut trying to push in, just too little too late. N-Pen's all in the box as well. Cam just had the perfect angle, and even though Soneto went down, he was the perfect distraction for them to win that fight. It's just it being a 5-tick in the zone, pulling further and further away from where they're at. The chances of them being able to get that reboot is probably slim to none.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to happen here, but we are at a name POI, so we'll see. We've seen crazier things happen late into the game.
Mind you, this is only the first game, guys, so we're gonna be here for a little bit. This is only the first game. So,
on the side of a mountain, but this zone rotate must have been disastrous for them, and now every team under the sun that's got a little bit of an angle on them needs to be putting pressure here onto Reed. Now it's just 10 builds. This is a tough situation. How far can he go here? Players are dropping, though. Like, he could maybe earn placement points. It's not going to be easy, but Slavi's pretty light right now.
Yeah, with no elimination so far, this could be one of those situations to where it could be a 0-point game. 2 more trios do need to go down. Reed's at least in a much healthier position than he was before, but 16 builds left. That's all he has. That's cool. Ritual and Peterbot, they're looking above 460 damage, and this is exactly what happened. Monster, you asked the question, what happened to Reed Cooper Curly? Well, they ran into Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot along the way.
Yep, as always. You got Peterbot in the lobby. Take all your plans, all your strategy, throw it out the window. He's got one of his own. Oh, look at this, though. The second. No way. Reed turning online. Little 2v1 for the boy. We're just kind of hinting at whether or not he was going to be able to actually earn some extra points. And, well, guess what? He's got placement points and now Elam points starting to add up here. No miss for him, though. That was probably the biggest letdown, but take a look at this. A little loot left over. Hey, he's going to welcome all types of siphons here. And he goes. How that kind of worked out the pre-fire here. Fred and Caliper was so lit up. It's perfect.
Just dipping his toes in.
ooh, that's a bad. Ooh,
Double siphon mats
that's a bad spot to play end game.
in order to kind of
Cause that hill,
save
that
some
ledge,
mats where he can.
Oh.
He does get sprayed. Jojo Fishy, Pikes, Aoxy kind of turn the tables just a little bit from the last team that we saw on top of the island. They're hoping that this amount of elevation can be very, very useful to them, but in the back of their minds, they still have to be wary about how they're going to get down, especially if they don't have the misform. As Peterbot Cold Ritual, they finish the job, they take out Reed. At least he was able to get some of those eliminations and at least a team or two worth of placement points.
No, that is true. Just looking at the way this zone's kind of ending here, this is high-key a crazy place for the game to end, kind of right in between the Foxy Floodgate and then going up and over all the directions, the most vertical towards the islands up top. just unforgiving at the moment.
Wow. 419 below the damage threshold. If he could just kind of out-survive this, maybe hope that full trio gets sprayed down, he can get some of the damage. But he basically needs 2 full eliminations worth of damage in order to get above that threshold. So it's going to be a mountain to climb for him, but literally and figuratively, as you see the zone pulling in that direction. Aoxy and Teen hasn't really been contested that high up. 1,400 damage above the threshold for Peterbot Gold and Ritual. Just continuing to take names to check them off their list. 7 eliminations so far. And if that stat earlier on the game means anything, they're on track for at least 18.
Yeah, this is going pretty big right now. And you know what? It's kind of interesting that it's by choice they're running the Outlaw right now. So this is a very hyper kind of, you know, make a mistake and it's over for you type loadout. The heavy hitters right there. Ozone, Vera, Noxy playing very clean endgame right now. Nice pickup off Yusuf right there. No mistake being made. Up into a Neko Fishy. Xavi, they're going to lose one right now. Trying to play the front side. Early to rotate here on the low ground. Peterbot's team coming through though, moving fast. Talk about the ability to kind of key through. Medmis kind of forced out here as the zone's pushing in. He's got another one down. The box goes, grabs the wall too.
Wow, it's kind of the bait and switch. Look at the double down. In mere seconds, Peterbot's essentially full health. Cole takes much of the damage going first. He just switched spots with Peterbot, kind of like a train ride as they're running through teams here on the low ground. A much different side of things that we've seen before on their way to big games and big eliminations. They usually dominate the mid-levels. They dominate the high ground. They're just proving there's other aspects to their game, but Disaster Strikes, Ritual, and Cole both go down. Peterbot's now being put to the test. One elimination, 2. He's getting multiple knocks here, and another one on the Veer as the elimination cleans up. 146, and remember, he still has the medallion.
Holy shit, Peterbot's cooking!
Second spot.
Did you say
80 wins from Peterbot. 8 wins from Peterbot.
That's 16 right
Holy
now, Jacob.
crap, 16 total kills.
I mean, he makes it look
This is not fair.
alongside Ritual and Cole.
What are we watching, bro?
Surely seems to be in question as he's working his way up the high ground. Jojo Paiseox, you gotta look out. You got this man with some dangerous action here on the low ground here. Here comes a little floor kick right there, putting out the cones. He's got that misform to go ahead and scout for a second there. Gets in the front as well. These are not his builds right now. Tyler trying to break his way through. And it is just going down right now. I mean, I still think it's anyone's game here.
Yeah, I think so as well, especially since a lot of the players on the low ground still haven't clashed up until HQ going down. Peterbot still finding a tunnel to tarp, even if it's recycled builds. Odyssey and Cam doing the same thing, but they're almost fresh out. You see only 3 more materials used on one side, which makes this that much more important. They need the loot, the siphon, the mats, everything here, and they're going to get most of it and continue moving forward as they take down Tyler as well. But the flank comes in, one's going to go down. That's Cam cleaning up Tyler for the siphon. Didn't come in time, but Peterbot's still alive.
Oh shit, Peterbot's dead.
Into the top 3 we go.
Nicely done for Sid and Cam to kind of survive that onslaught there. Jojo Pikes, Aoxy get broken down. They're just looking to reinforce, and you can feel the pressure from them right now to try to qualify their way to finals. They're doing everything in their power not to clash prematurely here on the low ground. Sid and Cam need to kind of fight back here. Sid goes up. Jojo boxes up. He wants to go for a heal off. This passive play might be a huge mistake here. Give it a second. Sid gets a knock. That's going to be a siphon way to get picked up. But no, gets crashed on by a huge tag there. Jojo, meanwhile, heals his way to the win. And that was the strategy all along.
And while all that action went down between those 2 teams, Monster Curve just sneaked his way into a top 2, but big ups for them. They just pulled off a big win, Monster, and qualified themselves for the Major 3 Grand Finals. You know what that means? They get the rest of the day off.
Yeah, you see, you can really feel it when, you know, every team has their own agenda. You got teams like Peterbot playing that low ground, hyper fast, right? Looking for fights, just kind of racking up eliminations.
16 kills. Actually, I think they got more.
The way that Island was
Either 16 or 17 kills from Peterbot and his team. It is absolutely in FNCS too. Like they just push everyone, bro. Peterbot's team is just broken. It's not fair.
Let's look at it here from their perspective. Jojo Paiseoxy, this late in the game, still sitting at about 60 or so builds. Pice obviously.
It's not fair, chat. It's not fair.
from that side angle. He thought he had it for a moment there, but he ticked his way out. Congratulations to Ayase Pikes and Jojo Kishi winning match 1 here for group number 3. Jacob, we're going and kick this one off. What a way to start the day there, Zeke.
Bro, you see what I'm saying? We talked about this at the top of the show. Win conditions, okay? Now, this trio, they did not have the medallion from Rift Island, right? We saw it on Pete. We saw him kind of jumping around, disappearing. But what I love is that they utilized Rift Island in that mid game. You saw them for a moment. We cut to the wide. They're just up there shooting down. They save so many materials. When we cut to them, when it's like the 1v3 situation or the 3 trues remaining, they have like 60 builds up pop, bro. They had so much ready to go. And the fact that they
What's up, bro? Cole, you just missed it, bro. Peterbot and his team got 16 elims.
Yeah, they played that
16
smart. Like you
elims
said,
and got
it
third
started all the way
place.
back from Rift Island there. I'm not too certain if they were able to actually claim the island themselves, but we can see this rotation over there. Actually using bird form a lot. It's something that I've seen Poyo do a lot, where they won't actually use the rift to get up to Rift Island. Instead, they bird form up there. But you can just see what opportunity they had. And for it to go back over Rift Island, obviously that's a little bit of RNG. They actually, Jojo and Pikes were actually up on Rift Island quite earlier than that. So to be able to reclaim it once again, I just love to see it. And then they just handled this so well with Zone pulling over the mountain. They knew that from Rift Island they only needed to extend a minor amount of materials, and then they just carry that all the way to the end.
Yeah, that's definitely the point I want to hit on as well, right? We just saw it yesterday where we were kind of critiquing King's trio, right? They had the higher gun right there. They had so many eliminations going into the end game, but then throughout some of those moving zones, they didn't find any.
Yeah, 16 elims.
Refreshes.
16 elims, bro.
Rift Island is available for you to go up there and claim.
Only? What do you, bro, this is FNCS, dude. This is FNCS that you're talking about here.
Free from the rest of the lobby. You don't have to necessarily find any of those.
Peterbot is being told like 8 elims, bro.
Elimination game kind of come in where they didn't necessarily need any refreshes. They just had to play the game out and continue to play from the higher gun.
I got 20 Unreal.
Absolutely.
This is FNCS, dude.
Now, of course, before we can jump into game number 2, we have to go to a break. When we return, though, we break down game number 1 and Peterbot. We'll see you right after this.
So this is clicks in their second. This is the second round, which was yesterday. Which I don't think I did stream. Which my bad, guys. I've got 15 in FNCS. McLean, I highly doubt it, bro. Look at this team. This was not this year. I don't think. If not, this was this game right here. Kanata. I think Kanata died pretty sure. I don't think Kanata lasted long. Last year. In what, solos? I got 10. You got 10 kills.
Welcome back to the FNCS, everybody.
FNCS.
Game number 1, Aoxy, JoJo Fishy Pikes get themselves a victory royale off the high ground. We'll be seeing them going straight to the grand finals, but another story developing in this game. Peterbot, for a moment they're left alone as an individual.
Look at
no,
this.
Kelly, it doesn't
Look
matter
at
because
this.
They're still gonna get 16 eliminations. As
16 eliminations. Look at them just fucking push everyone at the end here.
As well as the Mythic Rifle, and then he had heals as well. Not too many builds, but who needs builds when you're able to eliminate everyone on the low ground? And even as a solo, we've talked about this so many times, and we've seen it so many times from Peterbot. Something like the Game 11 boon, not curse, where every single time Peterbot is put into a solo situation, it looks like he is a trio all on his own, Vivid.
10th.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible stuff.
You got
One of the
10th in
incredible things
FNCS.
too about this trio is that when we kind of tune in.
Good for you. If
obviously,
you're
the
lying,
victory battle,
don't really
the
care.
Angie trio, and that one kind of took a
I am enough playing this, what the fuck?
Pretty quick, because whenever this trio does get a
Why is I am enough playing this, bro? I am enough dog shit, bro.
closing this out pretty quick, but because that took so long, they were actually in 7th zone this game with just those 3 eliminations that they found in the early game. And like Zeke mentioned, right, 16 eliminations, which means that all of those eliminations pretty much came from the end game. It is just incredible that this trio can just consistently find so many eliminations when there are so many teams around you. They're able to just find those isolated fights and not only like win them, but make sure that they don't get affected by any of the other trios that are kind of so close in the end game. And then obviously, I mean, it's just a Peterbot effect, right? Like if you got Peterbot on your team, he's just gonna do it in the end game. No matter what it is, he's gonna do it.
He's in second.
I
92 points.
Literally how I think about it.
16
is that
elims.
There is such a chaotic
44
nature to
placement
the game
points.
in Fortnite, right? And I feel like Peterbot, it's like he can see. It's like he is like in the eye of like a tornado, right? He perfectly can see everything happening, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take one step to my right. Look at that. A whole trio. Oh, let me take a step to my left. Oh, what's that? You're a lone person? Did you say impact? Like, he's just, his game sense is next level. Also want to talk about 3rd place there. Osid, Cam, and Soneto. Now, of course, we only saw Osid and Cam together, right? Soneto had fallen kind of in that end game, but still, these guys put up a 3rd place with 9 eliminations, right? If we're targeting consistency, that is a very good start.
Yeah, and a lot of that came from the low and mid ground game that they played towards the end there. Just playing the levels so well, not necessarily sticking to the extreme low throughout the entire game. And also, I love the play that we saw at the very final moments there, where they turned it up. They wanted to go for the eliminations. But of course, if you have one player that's able to pull back and go for the heal off, eliminations are only going to do so much. But getting a 2nd place with all those elims is definitely going to be holding them up in the top of our leaderboard.
It's so funny because I wanted to talk about how, Mechanical Osid was looking right there, right? Like he was looking clean, everything was looking really, really good for him. And then when we tuned into him right there at the end, he had 0 eliminations. I was like, wait, did I watch the wrong guy? He's like, no, I swear, like he was looking very, very clean right there. Cam obviously just picking up most of those eliminations, Osid, and he went 2 right there. But yeah, very good first game from this trio.
I love it. Let's get some more Fortnite action. Casters, take it away.
Thank you so much. And no, Vivid, you were not wrong. Osid, 2nd or 3rd most in overall damage behind Peterbot and Cold, almost 1,300 in that game. He was getting those eliminations stolen away.
Yeah, but he put up the numbers, right? That damage was nothing to be overlooked at. Definitely showing that they're a team to be, put on the radar for popping off and possibly winning a game. But you got to stay away from that low ground if Peterbot and team are going to be looking to kind of make some big numbers, find some highlights, rack up some content, if you will, to kind of close out the weekend for themselves, because that's just not going to work for most teams.
Yeah, and with Aoxy, JoJo Fishy, and Pikes qualifying to the grand finals, the format says a spot has opened up. It's over towards the big man monster. On top of that mountain, usually teams like to 50-50 into that little tunnel. That's usually where it is if it's contested, but this time around, uncontested, free loot. So if your drop spot wasn't necessarily working in game 1, now would be the time to switch it up, because game 2 is ready, and let's get right into it.
Group 3, Game 2 now gets to kick off here. That last end game, though, talk about a disaster zone for most, especially with the island right off top the Foxy Floodgate. Normally, we celebrate a dead center end game, but right there, man, that was a tough one for most. So let's see how this is going to go ahead and dice up as we are now in game number 2 of 5. One thing to think about though, Jacob, for just a little refresher for everyone at home, the name of the game is win. If you win, you go straight to finals, and then after that, it's top 5 consistency. We'll also have a seat on that battle bus.
Yeah, usually kind of looking at the leaderboards for the past 2 group stages, it usually takes three good games out of 5 to really start to perform. You should
I
make
think
sure you
Clicks
have no
may or
0
may not have that
games, 'cause that really puts the
consistency.
pressure on to close
I
those
have no
out the day.
clue.
Back on over towards Utopia.
may
It doesn't
have.
like one team just kind of getting the lion's share of this loop, but overall they're kind of split up. This would be a good chance for Caliper and his entire trio to try to push towards the north. Aaron is literally a solo on that side of the map.
Yeah, Aaron's definitely out of position. Something's going wrong there, but as we talk about that, same thing can be said for Cosmo here. One already down, Bluish and Vex, so Oasis starting and ending before we can even put a touch on it. That was a quick sending back to the lobby, if you will, here.
Much needed too, because we know how disastrous these kind of drawn out fights are. There's no contested teams to their west, another one uncontested a little bit towards their southwest. That could have changed, but they're Bluish. Oh my. All you need is just a little bit of loot, just double pistols, and he just able to beam one, get the other one to about 20 HP, and now he has the high ground and full advantage. This is how he was able to clean them up for all 3 of those eliminations. The
Poor
pickaxe.
Sinkame there, just waiting like, dude, drop me something. Like, I got nothing. And then he just gets finished with the pickaxe.
Anything but that. Kind of seeing around the map, kind of uncontested spots, almost, I think, a good portion of the map on the northeastern side uncontested, from first order base to supernova to pump power. So there's a lot of freedom in the early game, but depending on how split you are in that drop, those are the little intricacies you really got to watch out for.
Early game kind of cycle here with teams that performed very well. 72 points for Tyler's trio. Not bad at all for a game 1 start for them to go ahead and really just put their foot in the door here. Utopia this time, though. No sneaking around for its trio. They're trying to get straight to it. This is the difference, right, between a game 1 to game 2. Teams kind of warm up. Respect is thrown out the window, and there it is. Looking to sort of apply dominance here. This is going to work much better for Fred's trio.
Yeah, it's kind of what you're saying, like warm up, just gain that confidence, especially kind of when you look at the leaderboard after game 1, the team contested you might not have performed well. That's kind of like boosting from game to game, especially now if you win the fight here. If you somehow don't win the game and go to the grand finals, there's even more confidence in that Utopia fight on one side. Bluish, Arsenic Plasma fight, just kind of continuously rotating over towards the east. You kind of see the spire in that mini-map, so you kind of see the over-ending goal of what they're after here.
So after that team wipe now, looks like they're kind of inching their way towards danger here. Be careful right now.
Yeah, XP, loot. I'm surprised that team's essentially kind of letting them get it for free without even trying to contest it, but I don't necessarily see all 3 members there together. They are kind of spread out. Now, you can kind of see in the mini-map they're looking over in that direction, but at this point in time, you got to start to wonder, is it even worth it? How late are we to rotate on over? You're seeing a lot of loot already being grabbed up. They already got the XP for their superhero rank. So it's a decision. Are those mist forms or those surf cubes worth fighting this early in the game?
Yeah, I was going to say, look at how critical the loot that they just claimed was. 2 misforms, plenty of extra heals. Showing you the power of the spires, even the mini ones there, so it's their loss for not fighting for it, but yeah, having one member a little too far out, that's what happens.
Just kind of looking around. You're seeing just a lot of these early bases, kind of where the zone's pulling towards the south. A good portion of them, you see already 2 different surge bases there, kind of plan B. A lot of the times you don't want to necessarily use these launch pads, but if you get pushed, you're stuck in a weird situation, you may not have the mobility that you're looking for, that might be a good way to try to escape. Get out for free. and kind of reposition overall. And up until then, you don't have to use it. You can kind of just sit up on this perch, loot up, get the surge. They see that one player towards the bottom. just try to
Alright,
accumulate
we're gonna go
points
for a
here.
minute here,
They might be
guys,
missing
or an
out to
hour,
this
and
final.
then
You see how many cluster that they
Where is
use
it
just to
here?
get up into this mountain.
pull something off. My phone's low on
I
battery.
think to myself, if it's worth staying here at this point,
Wow,
two players.
nice.
Luckily, they could have split and then sent one back down. They gotta get their resources together. Here. Jace's team targeted that ramp out, trying to see if they can break them down. Are there edgy good chance to find themselves a little elimination here? Trying to finish this team off right now. Skaters on the run. Oh, big opportunity there for Peter to make a mistake, but that Dash is going to save himself away. Great knock here to kind of kick this one off. Two already secured.
Yeah, and you kind of see the lone player doing that. Just kind of eyeing it down. Like, is it worth going over there now? Do I wait? Almost in the center of the zone at Lone Wolf Lair, so it might be a very, very risky situation to put yourself in. And then you got to add on the fact that you don't see another player in the map, mini-map anywhere. So it could quite possibly be a solo with the entire game on the line. Still up. Far too early to go down.
A little work player here on Usyk. Metal Cam. They get face checked by another trio right now. So we really get to set up the ambush they were probably looking to right there.
That's actually a lot of storm damage, 1,500 storm damage from game number one. And we kind of saw why. You know, the early game fights going on over towards their west. They're contested here for the most part at the resistance base. So it's not easy to move out of the spots for free. And then you add in the fact that they want to get Storm Surge, so they're taking advantage of the surrounding teams that may not have a safe drop spot to land at. So overall, working out well for game number one. The Hottie KSM delay, they're just getting pushed. Their high ground stolen away. They even lost KSM along the whole path. He's going to drop down to the low ground.
Bro.
Just trying to work around, keep their position hidden.
Screw. Alright, guys, I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna. I'll let you guys know what happens. Not watch by yourself.